Andy, on Friday I announced that I'm going for the beard. What do you think so far?
I like it. I like it. I can see it coming in there nicely. You've got the gray, you got little dark, touches to it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's starting to fill in. It looks good. It looks better than I expected it to. Because as we discussed previously, I don't care for beards. I don't trust beards. But so far,
I
not that
make it look good, Andy. I
I
make
think you
it
look
look
good.
good.
I mean, let's be honest, Dave. For those that don't get to see you on video, you make everything look good. You make everything look good.
I definitely appreciate it. The gray is doesn't show up well on camera, but it's there. It's there. It's full. Um
So it's
so
like back in the Fast Times movies, back from 1982. You see that? You can almost press it out.
How was your Indigenous Persons Day, Andy?
You know what, Dave? I really enjoyed this long weekend, and I enjoyed my Indigenous Persons Day. I quietly did some work in the background. I didn't mind the day off of potting, to be honest. It was just a nice low-key day. So I appreciate this season of holidays. We're in that stretch now, Dave, where there's like a holiday every month. There's like always a long weekend
Yeah.
to look forward to. I love it. Like that, it should be every month, despite President Trump's ranting and raving on June 19th, who celebrated Juneteenth about there being way too many American holidays, which he
Of
hasn't
course.
mentioned since, by the way, he hasn't said that again since then, while celebrating Columbus Day with enthusiasm from the White House. But just making a note that I enjoy all of these holidays. We should have at least one a month.
So here's like we didn't talk enough about this on Friday. I mean, and like what a fuckhead move. I
Yeah.
mean, in all like look, Christopher Columbus, amazing thing, sailed across the ocean blue, blah blah blah.
Also, genocidal asshole. I mean, like there's a
Yeah,
balance to it.
hold on for that. That's fine. We can, don't ignore the facts of what happened to all
Yeah.
the other parts. But, I think it's important that we appreciate when, Europeans did land on the country. And let's get the date straight, though. Let's understand when exactly that happened and so on and all that stuff. But to take away something from our Native Americans and our indigenous people, it's just like in the name of I want our Italian Americans to be recognized, a great Italian American. Like what a dick move. I mean, like we have like done so much bad to our Native Americans and our indigenous people that you couldn't like give them this holiday. I mean, not that it wasn't like they went around like, oh, thank God we finally have a holiday. They have a lot of histories and traditions, but for fuck's sake, I mean, it's really ignorant.
100% it is, Dave. And it's just so frustrating the way. So like if he wants to emphasize Columbus Day, and look, like I made that comment, but yeah, like, we all celebrate the discovery of the Americas. We all celebrate the fact that we're here today. Although maybe we're celebrating a little bit less right now, but like we're all very, I mean, like I get it. But when the White House goes out of its way to not acknowledge the native people, yet still puts out a proclamation along with Columbus Day acknowledging and celebrating Leif Erikson, right? If you go to the White House, there's a Columbus Day announcement and there's Leif Erikson Day announcement celebrating Leif Erikson and his brave adventure across the ocean. If we can celebrate that, like just put out a proclamation, even if you want to call it Columbus Day and not acknowledge the holiday as Indigenous people, like, at least put out a proclamation, acknowledge what's been happening. You know what I mean? It's like it's so deliberate, it's so purposely. No, we will not acknowledge these people, right? And I'm going to shit on Juneteenth, and I'm going to shit on the Native American population. I'm going to celebrate these European men. It's just so blatant that it's disgusting, right? And you're right. We didn't talk about it enough. The media didn't talk about it enough. It's one thing to just dismiss it, but it's purposely slighting the people, right? It's purposely celebrating one and ignoring the other. It's a disgusting thing, and it's not just like it's an isolation. It's
Right.
consistent. It's consistent, right? So take what you want out of that, right? You can look at it, you can observe the facts, you can observe the reality, and just take what you want out of it. We're happy to celebrate European white men. Fuck everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just disgusting, in a lot of respects. So, and you mentioned like the Juneteenth comment was, you know, like I think it had gotten more play from other people, he would
Yeah,
have continued with that.
yeah,
But I don't think it landed very well, especially with some people who voted for him, especially like African American man did vote for Trump more than they voted for Harris. I think
yeah,
that would have landed differently. He would have kept on that,
yeah.
and we could have had that removed. I wouldn't doubt that at all. And who knows? It's still on the table. We got 3 more years here, Andy, for that. Okay, Andy, let's get into a couple. Like, we're going to do one Trump segment and we'll get through some headlines here. Shut down week 3 now here, Andy. But Trump feels like he can continue to like navigate money around here.
Yeah.
And there's a problem with that is Congress authorizes the budget. They manage the budget. This is like we're doing a lot of like shell moves here,
Yeah,
but the bottom line is people are getting fired. The people who are being fired are the Trump says I'm going to punish Democratic people or programs and such, but there are Republicans who are serving in those roles, and they're coming out now and speaking out against some of this stuff. The military, some military members, there's a good interview with on C-SPAN where a military spouse openly challenged Mike Johnson, like they're not backing down. The Democrats are not backing down. And in the middle is a federal workforce that has already been decimated,
yeah.
continues to be decimated more, Andy.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing, Dave, that we can't
Yeah.
fucking manage this and that it's being used so politically, so politically. I hold both sides responsible for that,
Yeah.
but especially the messaging from President Trump and his administration and his cronies in Congress is particularly reprehensible in the way it's being politicized. First off, just so Americans clearly understand, elected politicians in Congress are getting paid right now. Like they're getting paid. Their pay is not interrupted by a federal government shutdown. They're getting paychecks. That's bullshit, right? And then the president wants to take this shell game you're talking about, Dave, to celebrate himself, right? I found money in DOD. I've directed Pete to pay the military. Fuck you, man. Like that should never be a question, right? That should never be a question why you're deploying military around the world and conducting unauthorized military operations, right? You damn well better be paying the military. Like of course you should be paying the military. More importantly, fucko, instead of having your favorite little Kristi Noem putting out pure party propaganda at airports around the country, which is being rejected in airport after airport around the country, blaming Democrats for the government shutdown. Instead of playing these propaganda games to try and score points, just fucking pass a budget. Just direct Congress to work together and pass a budget. It's a disgusting game that's being played and it's being politicized. And the only people hurting are the Americans being fired. The Americans aren't getting paychecks, but still being told to go to work. The services that aren't being provided by our federal government because our politicians are too fucking incompetent to keep government open. And Dave, while they're doing it, they're laughing it off. Like this might be the longest shutdown in American history that's coming. Hey, fuck you, man. Like get
Yeah.
your happy ass back to work and figure something out. Like don't drag this out for political points. Meanwhile, other political leaders are blaming the weekend's protest, Dave. They're calling it, hate America activity, terrorism rallies. Like just fuck you all, man. It's just so disgusting. It's what an embarrassing time for our federal government. What an embarrassing time.
So, Annie, you've touched on a couple things there I want to go back to. Is like you talked about the propaganda from Kristi Noem, and I was going to be an area that I want to like. She, like, again, for those who are not familiar, usually there's a video through the TSA check lines on in airports that talk about what you can bring in and what you can't bring in, and all this other stuff, reminders, and maybe there's a message from the head of DHS or something in there. Kristi Noem has taken that to a whole new level where she says, "Hey, we're glad you're traveling. Please do all these right things. Oh, and please pardon our slowness and please pardon our, delays because the Democrats
Yeah,
in Congress have shut down the government and are not paying." Like she's taken that opportunity. And Andy, there's other messaging here all along the Schumer shutdown. And look, I get it. You want to find taglines and talking points and such, but we have gone to like outright lies, Andy, on so many things. The Trump administration now, like we kind of joked about this before, but it is like you want to talk about propaganda? Listen to the president speak about anything
Yeah,
these days. The I would bet that only a quarter% of what he says is truth anymore. Everything is a lie, and there are no repercussions for that. There are nobody challenging him that. You're starting to see some of that. JD Vance was in an interview this weekend with George Stephanopoulos, and George Stephanopoulos cut him off and just ended the interview because JD Vance continued to promulgate some of these, this propaganda. And then what does Trump do the next day? He goes out against and targets George Stephanopoulos and with outright lies.
yeah,
This is just like this is an embarrassing statement. And even Trump this last, we had the Israeli ceasefire agreement, and that was a very monumental agreement, and we should applaud that. And yet, in the midst of that, he went in to say how bad Obama and Biden were. This is not what we should be doing here, Andy. This is just embarrassing behavior from the president
yeah.
and the administration.
And administration, 100%, 100% everything you just said there. And like you said, I mean, they're taking this time to try and again advance personal interests and pet projects, and attacking where they can. The president said, we're closing Democrat programs we disagree with. Like that's not what we're supposed to be doing right now. Like there's a way to address that. It's through fucking legislation. It's through a budget. Fund programs you want to support, negotiate where you want to negotiate, figure things out, pass a responsible budget. You don't just get to willy-nilly cut and do and fund and do it. Again, it's the monarchical tendencies of this president. He wants to be able to do whatever the hell he wants to do. That's not how our government works. Like the government works with three branches of government that all have distinct jobs, roles, and responsibilities. Congress is abdicating their roles and responsibilities. They're just deferring to the president. Thank goodness some people are starting to say, little cracks here and there, right? We've talked about it a little bit. We talked about the governor of Oklahoma pushing back on the National Guard appointment. We talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can't believe how much I'm saying her name in a positive manner right now, breaking from her party on a variety of issues and calling out the pathetic men of Congress. Like you're seeing some cracks occurring because people fundamentally know that what we're seeing right now is not American. It's not right. And at some point, John Thune and Mike Johnson are either going to get Donald Trump's dick out of their mouths, or it's going to be fucking inserted so hard they're going to choke on it. One way or the other, that little love affair is going to come to an end at some point because America is getting fed up with this. And this shutdown is just one more unbelievably incompetent, selfish political moment that is going to come back to bite these guys in their happy asses.
Well, you mentioned, I think what's going to be very telling is how this weekend goes here with the No Kings protests.
Yeah.
And it's going to be bigger than it was before, and that was pretty big itself. So we'll see what happens, whether do we mobilize this Pentagon's incident response force, this to quell domestic violence and all these other domestic disturbances or whatever it is. Be interesting to see if we get on that front. I mean, Pete Hegseth has already, got rid of the fat boys who showed up in Chicago, the military members. It's embarrassing, Andy. We can't stand
Yeah,
this.
that's embarrassing, Pete.
Yeah, exactly. Andy, let's talk about the Middle East real quick and the deal sign. We talked about it a little bit last week, potential on the table and the opportunity there with Israel and Hamas now, and there's a lot happening in this region.
Yeah.
Initial impressions, like, do you think this is going to be a lasting peace, Andy, here?
So I hate to be pessimistic, and I'm saying this genuinely, not politically. I mean, this is an area that, like, 100%, I hope the president's success, right? I want to see the fighting end. I don't have confidence in the assholes on either side. I said this a little bit when we talked about last time. Like you're continuing to see issues in the region. You're seeing Hamas and skirmishes here and there. You're seeing Israel still skirmishes here and there. I know there's a transition from conflict to peace. I understand it takes time to get things in motion and set. I get that. I honestly, sincerely don't trust them. I just feel like they have demonstrated time and time again that they'll pause, they'll play along, and then something will be used to trigger and things will pick back up. Maybe not to the same level, maybe they will. I don't know. I don't know. But from what I've seen the last 24 or 48 hours, like I don't have confidence it's going to be a lasting peace. I say that hoping I'm wrong. I sincerely wish everybody involved in this, all the leaders that have helped coordinate it to get to this fucking point, I hope it works out. I sincerely do. But Benjamin Netanyahu and the fucking idiots in charge of Hamas, like I have zero confidence in their sincerity in wanting peace. I think they're playing along out of pressure and they have other designs and intents, and I think we're going to see that happen again.
Well, I think though some of the and that's all good points because Hamas seems to be like there's a lot of rival factions now emerging within Hamas, and whether what side runs out, who's going to lead the Palestinian people in this next wave. And Andy, I don't think it can be understated. Like while there's a lot of celebration and cheer in Israel to get the hostages back, and all for the right reasons, right? I mean, I think that's great. The Palestinian territories are like completely annihilated. There is not much left there.
Yeah.
It's going to take billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars to rebuild there. It's going to take years to rebuild it. I think they've said somewhere in the neighborhood of billions of tons of rubble that will take up to a decade to remove completely. Everything has been obliterated there. And I don't think like this is a very critical time. I mean, we if you're going to have this sustainable peace, you're going to have to get aid and support in there, and you're going to have to start rebuilding immediately. The troubling part is again, much like what this president has done, is Jared Kushner has shown up in this area. Why? He's a real estate developer. And look, you can shoot arrows at me if you like to, but that's the reality of it. Is Trump is looking at how does he get his interests in place in these things. We keep seeing reporting after reporting. Steve Wyckoff, who again really instrumental in a lot of these efforts, real estate developer. So how are they leveraging for themselves to be positioned at the expense of the Palestinian people? And I think that's a really critical piece that has to be answered, and it has to be answered soon, or we're going to see some of these rival factions start, taking actions upon themselves to, for the betterment of their own people. So this is where I'm very weary and concerned. Is there a plan to navigate this war recovery, I guess?
Yeah, I think we often don't realistically understand that the peace is always harder, right? Like the peace is always harder. You need leaders. The Palestinian people haven't had a leader in our lifetimes. They've had people in the role. They had Yasser Arafat. They had Abbas, leading the
Boss.
PA. They've had Hamas leadership. There's been people in that role. They haven't had a genuine leader who was trying his best to serve the people and advance peace and create a better future. It's been selfish pricks. And I don't know if that leader is there today. I mean, Israel's taken out and eliminated so many of the Palestinian leaders. And so what's left, like, I don't know who is going to actively and successfully be able to lead. The West has a bad history of putting in people that can be manipulated and used, by them to advance their interests. We don't know how it's going to play out, but there will not be a vacuum. Like somebody has to step into this space, and if it's not good people, it's going to be more violent people because that's when aid isn't given, when people are still hurting, like that creates an opportunity for those with violent intents to come and fire people up and assume power and authority and influence. So I don't know what's going to happen, but like we need real leaders to step up and act right now. I don't know if those real leaders are there, and I don't know if Benjamin Netanyahu is the man to advance peace from the Israeli side. I think the Israeli people would probably recognize that too. So I think we have to really watch and see. There definitely going to be selfish American interests. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Like that can maybe help advance some of the progress, the cleaning, the development in a positive way, maybe. But we have to try and find a way to respect the people, the integrity of the nation, and I just don't know if we're going to do any of that. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I don't trust President Trump in that respect. I definitely don't trust the leaders in the Middle East in that respect. I'd hate to see it. I mean, they're sitting there with a peace in the Middle East celebration. I don't have confidence in that.
Yeah, I mean, so like just to answer that real quick, I mean, usually when these developers come in and want to do it, they're developing it for a higher end clientele
Yeah,
and not necessarily for everyday citizens. And I think that's going to be the gap. Yeah,
yeah,
they may make Gaza look really cool and fancy and have Trump hotels everywhere, but at what cost? Is it going to be like the Bahamas and such, where there's a public facing side which looks great, but then there's the downtrodden poor side that is really struggling. So that's part of it for sure. And you mentioned Netanyahu, and we'll just end on this real quick, but this is going to be the very challenging part for Israel. He
yeah.
was not a popular leader prior to October 7th. He has navigated this process, and he is not still not a popular leader. A lot of people were really upset with how he conducted the war and managed a hostage situation. And the question is now that this is over, does he try to retain to those powers that he had? Or is there time for new leadership? Or are we going to start seeing more protests and demonstrations in Israel calling for his removal? So this will be a challenging time for Israel too, because Netanyahu has not been a great president. Put the war aside, there's a lot of real issues going on in Israel
Yeah,
aside from that.
yeah, yeah. I agree with all that, Dave. It's definitely a challenging time.
All right, so let's go to the last segment here. Um, let's talk NFL, Andy. So wild week in the NFL.
Wow.
How are you feeling? Your Lions started off really good on Sunday night, and then kind of lost it out to the Chiefs. The Chiefs looked really good, but Detroit's defense is kind of beat up, Andy. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much we take away from all of it, but 4-2 is still a pretty good record going into the time, and my Cowboys suck. So
I mean, Detroit's got a hard road ahead. They're banged up, injured. They still have some really tough games, including Monday night game coming up against the Bucks, who might be the best team in football right now. But take it in total. I mean, what a wild weekend of football. Records that are hard to read. You've got teams that are 5-1, 4-2, teams that are, you know, have three losses, four losses, and it's hard to figure out like who's actually good in the NFL. Like you see power rankings and they're all over the place, and people have the Bucks on top and the Seahawks high, and they haven't given up on the Lions yet, but they're uncertain. Are the Eagles, falling apart? Like it is a all over the place season right now. I don't think anybody is in pole position. I mean, some teams look good. The Bucks are playing good. We'll see if they can win in Detroit on Monday. That'll be an important game for them and the Lions. But there's a lot of question about which teams are legit right now. Going back to our predictions, maybe I was unfair to Mike Vrabel. I'm not sold the Patriots are really good, but their quarterback seems to be very talented. You've got chaos with the New York Giants. Two young rookies playing great football. It's a wild, wild season right now, Dave. It's a lot of fun to watch, even if I have to watch my Lions struggle a little bit in the moment.
yeah, interesting parts for sure. And looking at do you want to do top five, or you want to do that on Friday?
Why don't we roll that, Dave? I think do we want to talk about any of the games or some of our predictions, or do you want to we can
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I was going to go. So let's look at our confidence picks, Annie. We'll do top five, bottom one on Friday. But if we go back to our confidence picks about pretender or contender,
yeah.
let's just roll through some of these
Oh
and just
man,
see if we're going to change any of our minds. Okay, Annie? Does that sound?
might get in trouble here with some of our pretender calls.
Yeah, yeah. So New York Giants, we both had pretenders. You still feeling pretty good on that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're playing better than I expected them to,
Yeah.
but pretenders, they're not there yet.
Dallas, we both had contenders. I'm thinking these are pretenders, Andy.
I'd like to say they can still come back and get their act together, kind of like the Eagles, but looking pretty bad right now. They might be pretenders.
Yeah, their defense is just really bad, and
Uh,
I give Carolina a lot of credit over the last couple of weeks. They're playing decent football, but Dallas had to win that game. I mean, they don't have very many winnable games the rest of the year, so I'm
yeah.
going to say pretender. Philly, we both had contenders. I think they're still contender.
I do too. We've seen Philly do this before. They have some problems. I think their fans are about ready to riot against their offensive coordinator. But I think Philly still has the talent. They just need to break the funk. I think they could. Get through a couple weeks here, put themselves back together, come out and win the second game against the Giants, get to the bye week, and I think we might see a different Philly team.
Okay. Washington, I had pretender, you had contender. I don't know, Andy. What do you think?
I don't either, David. I really think it's a toss-up right now. Washington is not helping themselves. They might be having that sort of quarterback sophomore slump that sometimes we see with young quarterbacks. It just doesn't seem to be clicking in Washington right now.
Yeah, kind of tough. They should have they had to win that game against
Yeah.
Chicago. I
Yeah.
mean that's okay. Chicago, we both had pretenders, but they might be on the edge of last playoff seeding, Andy.
They might be. I still think they're fake. I mean, the win
Okay.
against Washington was like it wasn't an impressive win. It was a great win, but it wasn't an impressive win. I don't think they're playing great football. I think they're still pretenders.
Okay. Minnesota, we both had contenders. I'm leaning more towards pretender here.
Yeah, it looks that way for Minnesota. I don't see Carson Wentz beating his former Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. I think he's going to be part of the story of the Philadelphia rebound, and I think the Vikings are not the team they were last season. Who knew Sam
Yeah.
Darnold was actually really good?
Yeah. Green Bay, I had contender, you had pretender. It's a weak NFC, Andy. I'm thinking contender.
I think they might be, Dave. They
Yeah.
came out in week one and played great football against the Lions. They haven't been as consistently strong, but they're still a talented team. They're still playing good ball, and I think they did this last weekend. So I think they're still a solid team. They handled the Bengals, which everybody's handling the Bengals right now, but I think the Packers are doing okay. I think they are a legit contender and sitting atop the NFC North.
Yeah. Tampa, we both had contenders, no issues there. I mean,
Yeah,
they're top. Okay, you had Chicago, Atlanta, New Orleans. We all had pretenders. And for New Orleans, you actually said they're garbage. So, so
I
we're
stand by that statement.
okay. So I think New Orleans has played pretty well. I think all these teams have played respectable, but they're all pretenders in my book, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints, the Panthers, the Bears, they've showed moments of success. The Giants have had their moment. I mean, look, again, any given Sunday, any team can beat any team,
Yeah.
100%. But I think like the Saints still suck. The Raiders still suck. There's some really bad teams in the NFL.
All right, Seattle, San Francisco, and Arizona. We all had pretenders. Or I'm thinking Seattle's a contender. The other two, I think, are definitely still pretenders.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. I think the Seattle is surpassing expectations, and I don't mind it at all. I don't mind seeing them doing well. Sam Darnold is maybe showing that he's a legitimate quarterback in the NFL and can play. Their coach seems to be doing a good job building that team. Seattle looks legit.
Yeah, I think so too. The Rams we had as a contender. I think they're still contenders here,
Agree.
Andy.
Agree.
All right, let's try to get through the AFC side a little bit. Buffalo, we both had contenders, but they look, ooh, they're looking kind of the
They're
beat right
hurting.
now. But they got to be a contender, I think.
I think as long as you've got Josh Allen and the guts of that team, they're a contender. But this is, I think, a big season for the Bills. If they can't get it done, I think
Yeah.
the coach is gone, and I think if they can't get it done, I think they have to question: do they trade Josh Allen to a real contender and start over? I don't know. I think the Bills are
Oh,
on the bubble.
that's a tough one.
Yeah,
New England would we have pretenders, but they might be a contender. They're beating who they need to beat. And Drake May's playing pretty well. So
yeah. I'm not convinced, but I'm open to being convinced on them.
yeah. Okay, pretenders for the Jets and Miami. I know that the Jets. I wish they would be doing better, but they look lost with Fields right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, same. Wish them well, but they're awful.
okay, Baltimore we had as contenders, but 1-5, Andy. This is not looking really good right now.
Now, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I don't even want to come back and play anymore this season. It's time for the Ravens to move past Harbaugh, get Lamar a new coach, and move this team forward. This season is done.
I think they're going to have to get rid of Harbaugh at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Um, all right, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I had for Cincy, I had them as contenders, but at the beginning of the season with
yeah,
Joe Burrow, I think these teams are all pretenders now.
agree. The Steelers are not a legit 4-1 contender. and the Bengals right now. There's a four-game skid. Joe Burrow's still out. It's gonna be tough to rebound for these guys.
Okay, the AFC South, you had pretenders for all of them. In fact, you said the whole division is pretenders. I had Houston as a contender, but I think the only I look, Indy's playing well, Jacksonville's playing well.
Yeah, and the Texans might not be bad. So, like,
Yeah.
I think the Colts and the Jags are legitimately improving. They're not as good as their records suggest that they are, but they're both good. They're both good.
All right, and then in the AFC South or West, we had Denver, KC, both as contenders. Any changes on that one?
Yep, I think the Chiefs are fine. I think Denver's not a bad team. The Chargers are looking suspicious, but everybody else is doing all right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that runs through it. So I just gave a quick update on some of those and see how those go. So we'll do that again with the season being 17 weeks. Well, this is the third of the way through the season. Might as well do a quick azimuth check for the
Yep,
old Army folks in us, but see how that goes. All right, Andy has a full Wednesday. Full Wednesday. We
it is a
didn't.
full
There's some
Wednesday.
other news topics out there too. We'll probably revisit those on Friday. But fun day, Andy.
Yeah, lots going on. I hope we're right about some things. I hope we're wrong about some things. And I hope that our politicians in Washington D.C. can get their heads out of their asses and do their job for America.
Most likely not. But yeah,
Okay.
I applaud the sentiment, Andy. So, all right. With that, I will catch up with you on Friday.